Some people will keep breaking you and then blame you for bleeding. They'll call you cold because you stopped letting them burn you. But here's the truth. Being alone is not the enemy. Staying broken is. You are not meant to live your life as a shadow of who you could be. You are meant to rise, whole, unshaken, unapologetic. So listen closely, because what I'm about to say might just save your soul. Too many of us live our lives clutching onto people who have already emotionally left us. We sense the distance in their tone, the absence in their eyes, but we ignore the signs because we can't bear the thought of being alone. We convince ourselves that their physical presence still means something, that if they are here, breathing the same air, then maybe the connection still exists. But deep down, we know the truth, they're not really with us. They're just around. And there's a massive difference between someone being there and someone truly showing up for you. We stay because we're afraid of silence, afraid of the emptiness. But what we should really fear is the slow erosion of our soul by someone who stopped valuing us a long time ago. We give away pieces of ourselves, little by little, to maintain that false closeness. We trade away our joy, our peace of mind, and our self-respect just to keep a seat at their table. We call it love, but it's actually survival. We rationalize their coldness, excuse their neglect, and convince ourselves that it's just a phase, or things will get better. But the longer we stay, the more we shrink. And every time we silence our needs to keep the peace, we teach ourselves that our own voice doesn't matter. We teach ourselves that their comfort is more important than our dignity. And that's a lesson that, if learned too well, will take years to unlearn. Sometimes we cling because we believe the history we share binds us to them forever. We think, they've been in my life for so long, how could I just walk away now? But history doesn't excuse harm. The time you've invested should never be a prison sentence. You can spend years in a relationship, a friendship, or even a family dynamic and still be allowed to decide, this is no longer good for me. The calendar doesn't measure the value of a connection. The quality of the connection does. And if the quality has been replaced by tension, resentment, and exhaustion, then the length of time doesn't make it worth keeping. The truth is, we often confuse proximity with love. Just because someone is sitting next to you doesn't mean they're standing with you. Just because they answer your calls doesn't mean they're listening to you. Physical closeness is meaningless if emotional presence is gone. A warm body can't replace a warm heart. And the danger is, when you keep someone in your life who no longer pours into you, you create a space where your energy is constantly being drained. You end up living on empty, wondering why you're so tired all the time, not realizing that it's not your workload, it's your relationships. Letting go isn't about hating them. It's about loving yourself enough to stop letting them harm you. It's understanding that peace is priceless, and anyone who costs you your peace is far too expensive to keep. People might call you selfish for walking away. They might try to guilt you with phrases like, after everything I've done for you, or, so you're just going to leave. But self-preservation is not selfishness. Choosing yourself is not betrayal. You can care for someone deeply and still decide they no longer belong in your inner circle. It doesn't make you cold-hearted. It makes you wise. You have to ask yourself, what am I losing by holding on? If the answer is your mental health, your self-worth, your joy, then the cost is already too high. And here's the hard truth. You can't save a connection by sacrificing yourself. You can't fix someone who doesn't see a problem. You can't keep giving when there's no return. Walking away is not a failure. It's a declaration that you value your peace more than their proximity. And when you finally take that step, you'll realize you never needed them as much as you thought. You just needed to believe you could stand on your own. Loneliness is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. People fear it as if it's a sign of failure, as if being alone means you've somehow lost your worth. We're told from a young age that happiness is tied to having people around us. That being surrounded means you're loved, and being alone means you're unwanted. But that's a lie that keeps so many trapped in harmful relationships. The truth is, loneliness is simply a space, a sacred, open space, where you have the chance to rediscover yourself. It's a pause, not a punishment. It's the quiet where you finally hear your own voice again. Misery, on the other hand, is not about being alone. Misery is about being in the wrong company. Misery grows when you share your days with people who drain you, belittle you, or make you question your own value. You can be in a crowded room and still feel invisible. You can be in a relationship and feel more alone than you ever did by yourself. That's because true loneliness isn't measured by how many people are around. It's measured by the absence of genuine connection. And when you're surrounded by people who make you feel small, you are not escaping loneliness, you're deepening it. We've been conditioned to think that silence is dangerous, that if we're alone with our thoughts, something is wrong. So we fill our lives with noise, pointless conversations, empty relationships, constant distractions, just so we don't have to face ourselves. But here's the truth: the discomfort you feel in solitude is not because you're alone. It's because you've forgotten how to be with yourself. And the more you avoid that, the more you cling to people who are bad for you, simply because they keep you from facing that stillness. But stillness is where the real work happens. It's where wounds heal. It's where clarity is born. There are people who will never want you to find comfort in your own company. Because the moment you do, you no longer need them. They thrive on your fear of being alone. Because that fear keeps you tethered to them, no matter how badly they treat you. They'll convince you that solitude is dangerous, that you'll be miserable without them. But in reality, the only misery is staying tied to someone who's dimming your light. They fear your independence because it exposes their own weakness. It forces them to confront that they were never giving you love, only control. When you choose solitude over toxicity, you start to notice how much lighter your life feels. You realize you don't have to brace yourself for every conversation. You don't have to tiptoe around someone else's moods or hide pieces of yourself to keep the peace. You wake up without that heavy knot in your chest. And yes, at first, there's a strange emptiness. But that emptiness isn't something to be feared. It's space. Space for new passions, new dreams, new connections that actually nurture you instead of draining you. You start to understand that the thing you feared most, being alone, was actually the thing you needed most. Choosing to be alone when necessary is one of the most powerful acts of self-love. It means you value your peace more than you fear your solitude. It means you understand that your worth is not determined by who sits next to you, but by how you feel when you're with yourself. The wrong company will keep you trapped in a cycle of misery, always reaching for validation that never truly comes. But when you embrace your own company, you break that cycle. You realize that being alone doesn't make you incomplete. It makes you free. And freedom will always be better than captivity, no matter how familiar that captivity feels. Loneliness is not the curse people make it out to be. It's not a flaw in your personality or proof that you're unworthy of love. It's simply space, empty at first, but capable of being filled with the most valuable thing you can ever possess yourself. The world has programmed us to believe that having people around is the same as having love. But that's a dangerous lie. The truth is, you can have a crowd around you and still feel like you're drowning in isolation. And you can be alone in a room, wrapped in silence, and feel completely whole. That's because loneliness is not about who's physically near you. It's about the presence or absence of genuine connection. Misery is far more dangerous than loneliness. Misery is what happens when you settle for the wrong company, convincing yourself it's better than none. You may tell yourself you're escaping loneliness by staying in certain relationships, but in reality, you're just trapping yourself in a deeper, darker kind of emptiness. You feel unheard, unseen, undervalued, and yet you stay, because the idea of walking away feels heavier than enduring the pain. Misery doesn't need solitude to thrive. In fact, it flourishes in crowded spaces, filled with shallow conversations, hidden resentment, and unspoken wounds. The wrong company turns your life into a place where your spirit suffocates in slow motion. People cling to toxic company because they've been taught to fear silence. They don't want to sit alone with their thoughts, to confront their own insecurities, to face the truth about the choices they've made. So they surround themselves with distractions. People who keep them busy, relationships that keep them occupied, environments that keep them from thinking too deeply. But silence is not the enemy. Silence is the mirror you need to see yourself clearly. And yes, it can be uncomfortable at first. But it's in that discomfort that you start to understand what you truly need, what you've been tolerating, and what you've been too afraid to walk away from. There are people who will go out of their way to keep you dependent on them. They know that once you become comfortable in your own company, you will no longer tolerate theirs. They thrive on your fear of being alone because it keeps you compliant. They'll tell you that you'll be miserable without them, that no one else will understand you like they do, that you'll regret leaving. But these are not words of love. They are words of control. Love doesn't try to convince you to stay through fear. Love doesn't need you to be dependent. It wants you to be free, even if that freedom means you walk away. When you choose solitude over toxic companionship, the shift is almost physical. The weight on your chest begins to lift. You no longer wake up wondering what kind of mood they'll be in, or how much of yourself you'll have to hide to keep the peace. Your days stop being about survival and start being about growth. And while there might be moments where you miss their presence, what you really miss is the comfort of familiarity, not the reality of who they were. Once that truth sinks in, you'll see that you haven't lost anything worth keeping. You've simply made room for something better. Choosing to be alone when necessary is not weakness. It's strength. It's a refusal to let fear dictate your life. It's the understanding that your mental and emotional well-being are worth more than forced companionship. The wrong people will always keep you stuck, convincing you that their chaos is a kind of love, that their inconsistency is just how they are. But once you've experienced the peace of your own company, you'll never settle for that again. you'll realize that being alone isn't a punishment, it's a privilege. A place where you can breathe, heal, and rebuild without interference. And in that space, you'll discover that solitude is not empty. It's full of everything you need to become whole. Love is supposed to be a place of safety. It's supposed to be the one thing in life that doesn't make you question your worth. Real love builds you. It adds to who you are, strengthens your spirit, and makes the weight of life feel lighter. But too many people confuse love with dependency, with obligation, or with control. They stay in relationships where they are constantly walking on eggshells, where every day is a battle to keep the peace. And they tell themselves, this is just how relationships are. No, it's not. If love consistently leaves you feeling smaller, weaker, and more doubtful of yourself, it's not love. It's erosion disguised as affection. There is a dangerous belief that if you truly love someone, you must endure all their storms, no matter how violent. We romanticize pain. We tell ourselves that struggle is proof of depth, that the more we suffer for someone, the more real the love must be. But that's a lie that keeps people trapped in relationships that are slowly killing their spirit. Yes, every relationship has challenges, but there's a difference between growing together and being broken by the same hands that claim to care for you. Love should never be an excuse for destruction. When love becomes a battlefield, you stop seeing the person across from you as a partner and start seeing them as an opponent. Every conversation feels like a debate you have to win just to be heard. Every disagreement becomes a test of who can hurt the other more. You find yourself calculating your words, not to communicate better, but to avoid triggering another explosion. That is not love, it's war. And war leaves casualties. The wounds may be invisible, but they are real. They show up in your anxiety, in your inability to trust, in the way you start to shrink in your own life. The most dangerous part is that toxic love often comes with moments of tenderness that keep you hooked. Just when you're ready to walk away, they'll give you a taste of the love you've been craving. And for a moment, you'll feel safe again. You'll think, this is the person I fell in love with. But that's not the truth. It's a cycle. The same hands that hurt you will hold you just enough to make you doubt your need to leave. This push and pull is not passion. It's manipulation. It keeps you addicted to the highs, so you'll tolerate the lows. And over time, you start accepting things you never would have tolerated before. Real love will challenge you, yes, but it will also protect you. It will make you feel seen, not invisible. It will encourage your growth, not punish you for it. It will support your dreams, not belittle them. When someone truly loves you, they don't try to control you, diminish you, or make you doubt your own reality. They work with you, not against you. And even in the hardest seasons, they fight for the relationship, not for power. Anything less than that is not love, no matter how much history or passion you share. The truth is, love that breaks you is not worth keeping. It doesn't matter how many years you've invested, how deeply you've intertwined your lives, or how scared you are of starting over. Staying in a love that diminishes you is like drinking poison slowly, hoping it will somehow turn into medicine. It won't. You deserve a love that builds. A love that feels like coming home, not like surviving a storm every single day. Until you find that, it's better to stand on your own 2 feet than to be carried into destruction by someone who calls it love. People will tell you your standards are too high as a way to excuse their inability or unwillingness to meet them. They'll call you picky, or hard to please, hoping that you'll lower the bar so they don't have to rise to it. But here's the truth. Your standards are not a flaw. They are protection. They are the lines that separate what you deserve from what you refuse to tolerate. When you lower them just to keep someone in your life, you are not gaining a relationship. You are losing your self-respect. And once that respect is gone, it's almost impossible to feel whole again. Standards are not about perfection. They are about alignment. They are the boundaries that make sure you are only allowing in what truly serves you. People who can't meet your standards will always try to convince you that they are unreasonable, because it's easier for them to make you doubt yourself than to actually step up. But you have to understand, anyone who truly values you will never be offended by your boundaries. They will see them as a sign of self-worth, not arrogance. They will rise to meet them because they want to keep you, not because you force them to. Lowering your standards to hold on to someone never works in the long run. At first, it might feel like the problem is solved. They're happy, you're not fighting anymore, and things seem smoother. But slowly, resentment builds. You start noticing the ways you've compromised on your values, the times you've swallowed your needs, the moments you've said yes, when every part of you was screaming, no. And when that resentment takes root, it grows into bitterness. And that bitterness will either destroy the relationship or destroy you. The fear of losing someone makes many people erase their own boundaries. They think, if I just stop asking for so much, they'll stay. And maybe they will, but it won't be the version of them you want. It will be the version that takes advantage of the fact that you've stopped expecting more. And the problem with that is, once someone gets comfortable giving you less, they almost never go back to giving you more. They learn that you will accept crumbs, and they will stop bringing you the whole meal. This is why holding your standards is not just about relationships. It's about self-preservation. It's important to understand that losing people because of your standards is not failure. It's filtration. It's life removing those who are not aligned with your values, your vision, or your worth. Yes, it can be painful to watch people walk away, especially when you care about them deeply. But you have to remember, you are not just losing them. You are making room for those who can actually meet you where you are. Every person who leaves because you refuse to lower your standards is proof that your boundaries are doing their job. You will always have two choices: keep people who require you to shrink, or keep your standards and watch them leave. One option costs you your relationships, the other costs you yourself. And the truth is, you can recover from the loss of a relationship, you can rebuild, you can find new love, you can create new connections. But if you lose yourself, if you strip away your own values to keep someone, you may never fully recover. That's why your standards are not negotiable. They are the foundation on which your peace, your happiness, and your self-worth are built. And without that foundation, nothing in your life will ever truly stand. No one is coming to complete you. You are not half a soul, wandering the earth waiting for someone to make you whole. That narrative is dangerous because it teaches you to believe that your happiness is in someone else's hands. It convinces you that until the right person shows up, you are unfinished, incomplete, lacking. But the truth is, you are already whole. You were born with everything you need to create a life worth living. Anyone who comes into your life should be a partner, not a savior. They should add value, not supply it entirely. If you depend on someone else to complete you, you hand them the power to break you. The moment you make your wholeness someone else's responsibility, you set yourself up for disappointment. No one, not your partner, not your family, not your friends, can carry the weight of fixing your insecurities, healing your past wounds, and making you happy every day. That's your job. And when you expect others to do it for you, you unintentionally put them in a position they will always fail at. You'll feel let down, they'll feel drained, and the relationship will start to crumble under the pressure of unrealistic expectations. Wholeness cannot be outsourced. It must be built from the inside out. People who haven't learned to stand in their own completeness often become trapped in unhealthy dynamics. They mistake dependency for love. They cling to people who mistreat them because being mistreated feels less terrifying than being alone. They keep hoping that if they love hard enough, the other person will finally give them the validation they crave. But the harsh truth is this: validation from others is fleeting. You can receive it one moment and lose it the next. And if it's the only thing holding you together, you will spend your life chasing something that will never last. Taking responsibility for your own wholeness means learning to give yourself what you've been begging others for. It means speaking to yourself with kindness instead of criticism. It means setting boundaries that protect your energy instead of letting people drain it. It means pursuing goals and passions that light you up instead of waiting for someone else to bring meaning to your life. When you know how to fill your own cup, you stop resenting others for not pouring into you enough. You stop seeing relationships as lifelines and start seeing them as partnerships. There is power in knowing that your peace, your joy, and your self-worth are not dependent on anyone else's actions. When you reach that point, you stop tolerating behavior that chips away at your confidence. You stop begging for love from people who are incapable of giving it. You stop chasing those who keep running from you. You begin to choose relationships not out of desperation, but out of genuine connection. And when you choose from a place of wholeness, the connections you build are healthier, stronger, and far more fulfilling. When you take full ownership of your completeness, you stop giving broken people the power to decide your happiness. You no longer hand them the keys to your emotional well-being. You know how to stand tall on your own, and that changes everything. You're no longer afraid of walking away when someone can't meet you where you are, because you're not afraid of standing alone. You've learned that being whole is not about who stands beside you. It's about who you are when you're standing by yourself. And once you understand that, you'll never again let anyone hold your wholeness hostage. Walking away is not weakness. It's power. It's the quiet, unshakable decision to choose yourself over chaos. Most people think strength is about holding on no matter what, about proving you can endure the storm. But sometimes real strength is in the release, in recognizing that clinging to what's hurting you is not courage, it's fear. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of starting over, the fear of facing life without the familiar. But the familiar isn't always safe. Sometimes it's the very thing that's breaking you. And when you realize that, walking away becomes the bravest choice you can make. People will misunderstand your decision to leave. They'll tell you you're overreacting, that you're selfish, that you should try harder. They'll twist the story so it looks like you gave up, when in reality, you finally chose peace over pain. That's because your decision exposes something uncomfortable. It shows others what's possible. It forces them to look at the things they're tolerating in their own lives. And not everyone is ready to face that. But your life is not a performance for their approval. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your well-being. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing someone else's behavior to dictate your happiness. It means you've learned to value your mental and emotional health more than you value keeping someone who takes them for granted. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for them is to let go, because holding on only enables the cycle to continue. And cycles don't break themselves. People break them. The moment you decide to step out of the loop, everything begins to change. Every time you choose peace over drama, you reclaim a piece of yourself. Every time you choose solitude over betrayal, you strengthen your ability to stand alone. Every time you choose healing over hurting, you set a standard for what you will and will not accept moving forward. And those choices stack. They build resilience. They transform you into someone who can no longer be manipulated by guilt or fear. You stop chasing closure from people who were never willing to give it. You stop waiting for apologies that will never come. You create your own closure by closing the door yourself. The fear of being alone keeps many people stuck. But when you finally walk away, you discover something life-changing. You were never truly alone. You had yourself all along. You have your thoughts, your dreams, your goals, your resilience, your ability to rebuild. And once you realize that you can stand on your own 2 feet, the fear starts to fade. You stop seeing solitude as a punishment and start seeing it as a gift. A space where you can grow without interference, without chaos, without compromise. The day you walk away is not the day you lose. It's the day you win. You win back your time, your energy, your clarity. You win back your freedom to live without constant conflict. You win back your ability to make choices based on what's right for you, not on what keeps someone else comfortable. Walking away is not the end of your story. It's the start of a new chapter where you are no longer surviving under someone else's control. It's where you take the pen back and write your own life without asking anyone's permission. And that is the ultimate power. You can rebuild from alone. You cannot rebuild from broken. Stop holding on to shards and calling it love, loyalty, or friendship. Stop mistaking pain for connection. Every time you choose yourself, you are building a stronger, unshakable version of you. The version that refuses to settle, that walks away from anything that dims its light, that stands tall even in the silence. Your life is too valuable to spend it repairing things that keep cutting you open. Take your heart back. Protect your peace like it's the rarest treasure on earth, because it is. And remember this, the moment you choose wholeness over company, you don't just save your life, you take it back.